Morning you guys, it's Karen, and I thought I would come and give you a quick update on Watson because I know not all of you will follow him on Instagram and will be waiting for some news. So I last come and told you that he'd had his lump removed on his neck, his wound was pretty horrific, and we were waiting to find out the grade of the tumour. So we have found out since then. It's been kind of complicated. He's healing really well. I'll try and put a picture in of what the wound looked like then and now. It's just amazing how quickly they heal. Like, this is less than 2 weeks later and he is back with his walker. He went with his walker and I was a bit worried about him, but they walk very slowly. So I was like, worst case scenario, he can just bimble along beside her. But he was running about trying to get the other dogs to play, and we'd put a kind of scarf on him so that he didn't, you know, get his wound injured. But he's had the stitches out now. It's knitted together well, no infection. Everything was going really well. We did have a couple of days, and yesterday was the second day where he didn't eat and he was sick. 3 days actually, 3 days in a row he didn't eat until we gave him an anti-sickness tablet, and he just wasn't himself. And yesterday he was very lethargic, but he's just bounced back today and is fine. So I think that was an IBD flare-up, so nothing to do with the crackerjack, as I now call it. We don't use the other C word. So the grade of the tumour, like I said, it's complicated because there are two different grading scales for mast cell tumours, and even worse, the grading scale is for a mast cell tumour that's on the skin. Watson's is apparently between skin and muscle, and so there isn't a proper grading system. However, all they can do is grade it on the system that they use for skin, and so there's two. There's one that is low, intermediate and high, or 1, 2 and 3, and then there's another one that's just low and high. So he's low grade on one, which is brilliant news, and on the other one he's intermediate, or number 2, like level 2. So there's, like I said, there's 1, 2, 3. If they're level 2, they then have to look at how is it behaving. Is it behaving more like a level 1 or a level 3? So it's behaving more like a level 1. So this is all brilliant news. Remembering this is the second time he's had a mast cell tumour. The last time his grade of tumour was the same. It was a 1/intermediate, if you like. So that's so far so good. The one thing that came back, or two things that came back that are not so good news. One is that they didn't get complete margins, unfortunately. So there's a millimetre at one point where the tumour is that is tumour free, but that's not enough. There should be 3 centimetres around the tumour, so a lot more than there is, which means that he could need revision surgery, so more surgery, and it would be quite a big surgery because they'd need to do another 3 centimetres around the wound that they already created. So that's pretty upsetting because Watson doesn't do well in a crate, he doesn't do well at the vets, you know, and it's not nice for these things to happen to him. He doesn't know how many times they're going to happen. All that happens is he goes to the vet and he wakes up in pain and disoriented, you know. So we're not happy about that, but we can't make a decision on that now for 2 reasons. One, you need to wait until the current wound is healed, and then they take out the scar tissue and go around it. So like I said, it'll be an even bigger wound and a bigger surgery, but we need to wait for it to heal completely. And the second thing is we have got to have our appointment at the Crackerjack Centre on Thursday this coming week to see if it has spread, because if it has, say it had spread to his lymph nodes, then he would probably get chemotherapy, and if he was getting chemotherapy he probably wouldn't need the revision surgery. That's how I understand it at the moment. We don't know, or radiation or whatever, you know, there's lots of different treatment options. So we need to wait until Thursday to get those scans. They're going to scan his liver, his chest, his abdomen, his lymph nodes. I think they take a sample from his lymph nodes as well and see if it's spread anywhere. It's unlikely that it has spread because it's this low-grade tumour, but it's not impossible. It can have spread. So yeah, that means we're quite hopeful. The other thing that I was mentioning that came back from the pathology report, which isn't so great, is what's called the mitotic index. So I asked for the mitotic index of the tumour, and what that tells you is there any dividing activity? And basically, if the number is under 5, then there is, the prognosis is that the dog will live for an average time of 6 years. after diagnosis. If the number is above 5, the average time they live is 4 months. So very bad, you know. So it really is an important thing to look at when looking at the diagnosis and the prognosis. And so I asked the mitotic index. The mitotic index was 1 per high-powered field, per 10 high-powered fields. And so it's not awful, it's great, because it's under 5, which means 6 years, and he's already 7 years old, you know, so he's going to live to be old age if it hasn't spread. But it's 1 more than last year, because last year there was 0 mitotic index, so it means there was no activity at all. Like it had stopped, it was completely benign, nothing was dividing, nothing was happening, whereas this year there is activity. And so that is of concern, you know, that's something that we need to keep an eye on. So that's really where we're at the moment. We are feeling hopeful. I'm so glad that it's not the aggressive type of tumour. I was like at worst case scenario. I always am, you know. You'll know if you're a worrier like me, you'll know that you go straight to the worst case scenario, which for me would have been, it was the aggressive type of tumour, which would mean it had spread. The worst thing after that would be that he needed radiation, because he would need to stay in the specialist centre for 2 weeks and get general anaesthetic every day, and we wouldn't be able to see him. And I didn't know if I could put him through that, because he's already having nightmares and whatnot, which I think is from being at the vets. So I'm delighted that it's not aggressive. I'm delighted that it's low grade. And I'm now also delighted that he's over this sickness, not eating thing, because it was worrying me only because of this tumour, because we're used to that happening. It normally only happens for 1 day. So when it went to 2 days, we were like, oh, this is not good. But I think that was just an IBD, an inflammatory bowel disorder, a little mini flare up. So I will come and let you know after our Thursday appointment, of course, because I know that a lot of you want to know what's going on with him. But he is a little worrier, you know. He is his cheeky little self again already. We're working hard to try and not let him itch the scar, but because it's on his neck, we can't put a cone on him. So like I said, I've been putting a scarf on him, and I've sometimes been putting a little sock on him, because it's only the one back foot that he can manage to scratch it. He did manage to scratch it one day with the sock on, and he got like in the top of the scarf and it started bleeding. But apart from that, we've done pretty well, and we're giving him Piriton constantly, because I don't want him on Apoquel until we know that the tumour is gone 100% and has not spread, because it can make tumours worse. So instead he's got Piriton for his allergies, plus he's had an injection, but the Piriton also stops his scar feeling itchy, you know, so he's not itching it too much. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for everybody's well wishes for little Mr. Watson, and I will keep you updated. But like I said, he's got an Instagram account where I post a lot on, but I will come back and do another video when we know the results. So thank you so much, and I'll speak to you again soon.